Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to a gentle corner of the internet, where aging isn't something to hide, but something to honor. You know, there's a quiet kind of invisibility that sometimes settles in with age. Not because we've lost our light, but because the world forgets how brightly we still shine. Maybe you've felt it, standing in front of your closet, holding up a blouse, wondering, does this still say something about me? Or walking into a room, only to feel the gaze pass right through you, as if you'd vanished beneath your years. But I want you to remember something today. Color speaks, even when we don't. And there are colors, simple, powerful colors, that do something magical. They remind others you're still here. Alive. Interesting. Captivating. In this video, we'll explore 8 colors that, according to psychology, draw the eye and stir something deep, especially when worn by women over 60. This isn't about trends or approval. It's about reclaiming the power of presence with a palette that reflects your spirit. Because color isn't just fabric or pigment. It's emotion. It's memory. It's permission to be seen again. So whether you're watching this in your pajamas or dressed for a family dinner, get cozy. We're about to take a warm, thoughtful journey through color, confidence, and the quiet thrill of being noticed again. And if something in this video makes your heart smile, please like or share it with a friend who deserves to feel radiant too. Subscribe for more soul-soothing stories. Now, let's begin. And let's start with red. Number 1. Red, the color of presence. You know, red often gets mistaken for something loud, something showy. But when a woman over 60 wears red, it becomes something else entirely. Something richer, more layered, like a story told with a single glance. There's a reason red has always turned heads. It's the color of blood and roses, of love letters and candlelit dinners. It's the color of life refusing to fade quietly. I remember a moment not long ago at a cafe in Asheville. A woman sat by the window, reading a well-worn paperback. She must have been in her early 70s. She wore a long red coat, crimson, with soft gold buttons that caught the sunlight like tiny sparks. Her lipstick matched perfectly. Not flashy, not loud, but certain. And when she looked up from her book and smiled at the barista, you could feel it, that quiet kind of magnetism. Not because of the color, but because of how she wore it. Like a woman who's made peace with her past and isn't done making memories. Psychologists say red stimulates attention. It awakens. It invites. It's not about demanding approval. It's about making space for your presence. Red doesn't ask, do I belong here? It answers, yes, I do. And you don't have to drape yourself in it from head to toe. Sometimes, the smallest splash is the most powerful. A pair of red ballet flats you've saved for special days. A ruby scarf draped over your shoulders on a rainy morning. Even just a touch of lipstick that makes you pause in front of the mirror and think, there I am. Because that's what red does. It brings you back to the surface. It reminds the world that you're not fading away, you're still writing your story. And sometimes red is the chapter title. So if you've been playing it safe with grays and beiges, maybe today, just once try red. Not for anyone else, but for the part of you that's still curious, still strong, still full of fire. Because red doesn't need to prove anything, and neither do you. Red reminds us we're still here, still vibrant. But not every color needs to be bold to make a point. Some speak softer and still say so much. Let's look at one of those. Lavender. Number 2. Lavender. Soft yet striking. Lavender doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't need to. It's the soft hum of confidence. the kind that doesn't need permission to be beautiful. For so long, we've been told that the bolder the color, the more powerful the presence. But lavender? Lavender waits, and in that waiting, it captivates. It's the color of lilacs blooming by the porch in late spring, of satin gloves in old photographs, of memories that linger sweetly, like the scent of perfume left on a scarf you almost forgot you had. I remember once, my neighbor Evelyn, who's 76 now, came to a small garden party wearing a lavender shawl over a plain white blouse. She had paired it with delicate earrings, amethysts, I think, and her hair was in that perfect silver bun only she could pull off. She looked radiant, not loud, not trying, just at ease. And everyone noticed, not in a rushed way, in a softened, drawn-in kind of way, like they wanted to sit next to her and hear her laugh. Lavender does that. Psychologically, lavender evokes serenity, imagination, and dignity. It's a calming color, often used in wellness spaces because it gently lowers anxiety and increases trust. But when worn, especially by older women, it sends another message. I'm soft, but never small. Delicate, but never invisible. It's a beautiful contradiction. The kind that makes someone pause and think, she's lived a life full of stories. Lavender flatters silver and white hair in the most natural way. It complements aging skin tones, making everything look more even, more luminous. It pairs beautifully with pearl, with gray, with navy. And it works for quiet mornings on the porch or elegant dinners downtown. You might not have reached for it in years. Maybe you thought it belonged to Easter Sundays or spring weddings. But I invite you, open your drawer. Find that lavender blouse you tucked away. Try it on again just for you. Stand in front of the mirror. Let your eyes meet your own. And notice how gentle power looks on you. Because lavender doesn't demand to be seen. It makes people want to look closer. And isn't that what we all want sometimes? Not to be the loudest voice in the room, but to be the one people truly notice and never forget. Lavender is calm, gentle, but sometimes we want something deeper, something steady. That's when emerald green makes sense. Number 3. Emerald green, deep confidence. There's a dignity in emerald green. It reminds me of walking barefoot across moss after the rain, soft but grounded. It's the color of forests that have stood for centuries, of quiet wisdom that no longer needs to prove itself. I remember Elaine. She was 74 when I saw her step onto the train platform in Vermont. Dark green wool coat, matching gloves. She held her head high, shoulders back, not out of pride, but out of peace. She didn't rush. She moved like someone who had nothing to prove, but everything to offer. That's what emerald green does. It doesn't shout for attention. It commands it quietly, like the kind of woman who doesn't interrupt, but when she speaks, everyone listens. Psychologists say green brings balance, renewal, and harmony. But emerald? Emerald is richer. It connects to the heart chakra, emotional openness, healing, connection. Wearing emerald as we age is like saying, I've been through storms, I've grown roots, and still, I choose beauty. It pairs beautifully with silver jewelry, cream fabrics, soft browns. And whether it's a velvet blouse for a wedding, or just a knit sweater on a walk through the park, emerald green always brings presence. If you're looking for a color that makes people lean in rather than turn their heads, that says asterisk, she's lived, instead of asterisk, she's loud. This is it. Find it in a scarf, in a jacket, in that long-forgotten pair of earrings with green stones you tucked away decades ago. Wear it not because you want to be noticed, but because you are already worthy of attention. You're not blending in. You're rooting deeper. And in emerald, You grow visible again. Green keeps us grounded. But there's another kind of strength, quiet, calm, and sure of itself. That's what navy blue brings. Number 4. Navy blue, graceful authority. I remember the first time I wore navy blue and actually noticed what it did to me. I was 63, about to meet my daughter's fiancé for the first time. I stood in front of the mirror for what felt like forever, holding up blouses, second-guessing every color. I didn't want to come off too formal, but I didn't want to fade into the background either. And then I found it, that deep navy blouse, the one with the little pearl buttons. I'd bought it years ago and never wore it. Too plain, I used to think. Too safe. But that day, it felt different. When I walked into the restaurant, I didn't feel loud. I didn't feel small. I felt anchored. There's something about navy blue. It doesn't chase youth. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply says, I know who I am. I've earned this calm. Psychologists say navy evokes trust, intelligence, and respect. It's often worn in boardrooms, on stages, in leadership roles. But for women over 60, it's more than professional. It's personal. It reflects that quiet strength we carry. From the years of caregiving, the tough conversations, the late-night worries. Navy blue knows responsibility, but it also knows release. You can pair it with white linen pants and a silver necklace for an elegant lunch. Or wrap yourself in a navy cardigan on a chilly morning walk. It flatters every skin tone, every hair color, especially silver and salt and pepper. It doesn't sparkle, but it grounds you. And sometimes that's what we need. Not to shine, but to feel steady. If you've ever felt uncertain about your place in a room, try navy. It won't fix everything, but it might remind you you've been through enough to stand tall without saying a word. Now, let's talk about coral. Number 5. Coral, the cheerful glow. Coral has a way of lighting up a room, not with drama, but with warmth. My friend Patty, who's 69 and still runs a small flower shop downtown, wears coral almost every Thursday. Not because it's a lucky color, but because, as she puts it, it makes my face look like it remembered how to laugh. And honestly, she's not wrong. Coral brings a gentle brightness to the skin, especially for those of us with softer tones, laugh lines, and silver strands. It brings out the pink in your cheeks, the light in your eyes, and the spirit you've carried through decades of birthdays, goodbyes, and brand new starts. Psychologically, coral is associated with vitality, playfulness, and sociability. It doesn't overpower, it invites. It tells people, come closer. There's still joy here. You don't need a full coral dress, though Patty swears by hers. Even a coral scarf with a cream sweater or a little coral lipstick on a cloudy day is enough. It's the kind of color that makes you want to reach for fresh flowers, call an old friend, or book that lunch you've been putting off. And in a world that sometimes forgets older women know how to light up a room, coral walks in, takes your hand, and says, let's remind them, it's not just cheerful. It's courageous, too, because choosing joy, especially after heartbreak, after silence, after being overlooked, is one of the boldest things you can do. So, if you've been needing a reason to glow, maybe coral is waiting in your closet. And if not, maybe it's waiting in you. Coral is all about joy. But joy can be quiet, too. Sometimes simple is more than enough. Let's talk about Ivory. Number 6. Ivory, understated elegance. She held up the blouse in front of her chest. It's soft ivory fabric catching the morning light. No sequins. No bold prints. Just a quiet, flowing beauty. It had been years since she last wore it, tucked away behind holiday sweaters and sensible cardigans. She bought it long ago for a wedding that never happened, and somehow she kept it, like we sometimes keep the things we aren't ready to let go of. But today she tried it on. Not for anyone else. Not for an occasion. Just to see if she still felt like herself in it. And she did. That's the magic of Ivory. It doesn't dazzle. It rests. It's the soft sigh at the end of a long day. The tablecloth your grandmother used on Sundays. The pearls you inherited and only wear when you need to feel grounded. Ivory is timeless. Psychologists say that soft neutrals like Ivory communicate calm, clarity, and trust. But for older women, Ivory speaks of something deeper. Restraint with grace. It says, I've lived through color, chaos, celebration, and now I choose peace. Ivory flatters every tone without demanding attention. It pairs beautifully with silver, navy, rust, even coral. It softens the edges, highlights the eyes, and draws attention to the person, not the clothes. When you wear Ivory, people don't say, "What a stunning outfit." They say, "You look beautiful." There's a difference. And maybe that's what we long for at this age. Not to be noticed for the first impression, but for the presence we leave behind. So, if you're standing at your closet, unsure what feels like you anymore, try Ivory. Let it remind you that beauty doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it simply appears. Softly. Steadily. Just like you do. Ivory is soft, honest, and steady. But there are days when you want to show your depth, your story. Let's talk about next color. Number 7. Burgundy, the soulful shade. I remember the moment I realized how beautiful my mother was. Not when she was young or in old black and white photos, but one chilly evening, when she stepped out of her room in a burgundy dress. She was 67. Her hair had turned silver years before, and her face carried the softness of time, gentle creases around her eyes, a quiet steadiness in her smile. But that dress, a deep, velvety burgundy that clung just enough and flowed just right, it lit something in her. Or maybe it revealed something that had always been there. We were going to a family celebration. Nothing grand. Just dinner, candles, and a little music. But when she walked into the room, everyone paused. Not because she looked younger, but because she looked whole. That's what burgundy does. It's not youthful. It's ageless. A color steeped in richness, like old wine and poetry read out loud. It's the shade of stories that haven't all been told yet. Of passion that didn't disappear, just deepened. Psychologically, burgundy evokes strength, sophistication, and emotional intelligence. It's often linked to introspection, to maturity that doesn't need approval. And when an older woman wears it, it speaks volumes, without ever raising its voice. It pairs beautifully with gold, ivory, or a simple pearl. And when worn with confidence, it wraps around you like memory, like dignity, like a second skin. My mother didn't wear that dress often, but I'll never forget how it made her glow. Not like something new, but like something real. So if you're searching for a color that doesn't just flatter, but honors where you've been, what you've felt, and who you've become, burgundy is waiting for you. Because some colors don't sparkle. They resonate. And so do you. Burgundy carries wisdom. But what if you're ready to feel a little bold again? A little unexpected? Mustard yellow might surprise you in the best way. Number 8. Mustard yellow, courage and color. I never thought I'd wear yellow again. Not since the 70s. Back then, it was sunshine skirts and flower crowns. Now, I figured it would just wash me out. But mustard yellow? Oh, that's a different story. It was my daughter who handed me the scarf. We were shopping for a trip. She needed sandals. I needed a reason to say yes to life again. And there it was, a soft, mustard yellow wrap with little tassels at the ends. I laughed. "You're kidding, right?" She grinned. "Just try it, Mom." So I did. And something strange happened. I looked in the mirror and saw someone interesting. Not loud, not trying to be young, just someone who wasn't afraid of being seen. Later that week, I wore it to the Saturday market. Jeans, white tee, big sunglasses, and that scarf wrapped loose around my shoulders. I got 3 compliments. One from a woman in her 40s, one from a man who must have been at least 75, and one from a teenage girl who said, "That's a cool look." A cool look at 67. Psychologists say mustard yellow taps into curiosity, warmth, and creative energy. It's not as delicate as pastels, not as classic as navy, but that's the point. It's for the woman who's tired of dressing to disappear. It's for the woman who's brave enough to add a little surprise to the room. Pair it with denim, white, or deep browns. Add it as a statement earring, a bright purse, or a headband that makes you smile when you pass your reflection. It's not for everyone, but then again, neither are you. You've outgrown blending in. And mustard yellow? It knows how to stand with you in that choice. Because sometimes a single burst of color is all it takes to remember that you're still evolving, still glowing, and still absolutely worth noticing. So here we are, 8 colors, 8 reflections, and one beautiful truth. You were never meant to fade. Not into the background, not beneath beige, not behind anyone else's expectations of what aging gracefully should look like. Every shade we explored, red, lavender, emerald, navy, coral, ivory, burgundy, mustard. They weren't just colors. They were reminders. Reminders that presence isn't about age. It's about energy, about essence, about the quiet courage it takes to show up in a world that sometimes overlooks you. You've lived lifetimes in a single body. You've weathered seasons, built homes, held space for others when you barely had room for yourself. And yet, here you are, still evolving, still blooming, still very, very visible. If even one color in this video made you think, maybe I could try that, then something stirred. And that's not just fashion, that's freedom. So go ahead, open the drawer, dust off that blouse you saved for someday, or find a new scarf in a shade that makes your soul sit up straighter. You deserve to be seen, not as someone trying to look younger, but as someone claiming her space, her style, and her spirit. If this video helped you remember even a sliver of that glow, give it a like, or share it with a friend who needs this kind of gentle encouragement today. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. We have more stories, more softness, and more color coming your way. And before you go, tell us in the comments, which color made you feel most alive? Because sometimes the right color doesn't just brighten your outfit. It brings you back to yourself. And you, dear soul, you've always been worth noticing.